Hello everyone, Nathan Hyatt here, creator of Conscience Shmonshuntz. I had been working on a video involving my characters, my little angel and my little devil, my little angel and my little devil. And Wednesday, today's Saturday, the 14th of March 2020, Wednesday all this stuff blew up and the NBA announced that they were suspending the season indefinitely. Players, two of them had tested positive for coronavirus. And even though we knew it was a thing or kind of had heard something about it, it turned into a real story with real legs and real, actual, I don't know, reality. Uh, and I had the opportunity to reach out to the person who called me on September 11th, 2001, to let me know a day I'll never forget what was going on that day. And I reached out to that person and I said, I just want to let you know today happens to be 3/11/2020, March 11th, and this thing's getting real. This thing is here in the United States and it's real and it's a real thing, and it's not just something from over in China way far away. You know, what does anything have to do with the price of eggs in China or the price of tea in China or the price of rice in China? Maybe you've heard people say that. This thing is here. And the first time I heard about it a long time ago on InfoWars. Not to get too political, I'm going to be very careful getting political. Um, but I thought, I don't really think it's a thing because I just don't think it's real news. We all these days have to make judgments about what's real news and what's fake news. And one of the things I do here on my channel is I want to address topics that have to do with mental illness. And I am schizophrenic, schizoaffective. I have problems with delusions sometimes. I haven't had problems with those in a long time, which means they haven't caused problems in my life by me arguing with other people and trying to convince people, hey, this is happening, that's happening, the other's happening. And those people come to me and say, they look at me and say, I don't think that's happening. I don't think those things are happening for the reason you think they're happening for, the reasons. I don't think your perception of reality is accurate when it comes to these things. So these days when we watch the news, we're all kind of playing this game of, is this real news or not? Should I believe this? Is this fake news? Is this fake news made up by conservatives? Is it fake news made up by liberals? Is it coming from the right, the left? Is somebody just exaggerating a story or using hyperbole or twisting or spinning a story to make someone look bad that they don't like? Be that individual the President of the United States or someone else who's from the left. Don't really feel like I need to throw out an example. So I know that I've done a lot of listening and a lot of looking things up and a lot of asking Google. And most of us probably been doing that. Some of us maybe a little less. A lot of us just have lives to live and we can't sit around and obsess about a global pandemic all the time. It's just got to be incorporated into everything else, and that's just the way it is. So last Monday, March 9th, I had to go see my psychiatrist in Orlando. And, long story short, if I were hypothetically to contract COVID-19, coronavirus in its current iteration, in Orlando, there's around a 5-day gestation period. Found out we were having company yesterday that was going to come today, Saturday, about 5 days later. So I'm watching myself, and I'm trying to be careful and thoughtful and not jump to conclusions and think, oh, I sneezed, or oh, I had a little diarrhea, or oh, I don't feel well, or I have shortness of breath, or what are the symptoms, or this could be this could be this. It could be allergies. So company came over, spent a little time with them, washing hands, trying not to get too close to everybody, not even making an elbow bump, just kind of avoiding contact and just keeping our distance from each other, but being in the same room, large rooms here in our home. And they had been here a while, and I started to feel a little odd and a little weak and a little bit like I had that malaise. That could be the flu or something like the flu. COVID-19 is a lot like the flu. I kind of started thinking, well, I've got a little bit of a tingle in my throat. My throat's a little sore. I've got shortness of breath, and this and that and the other. One thing I want to point out before I go any further on this channel in this video is I'm not a doctor, okay? And so many people aren't that we rely on. 911 operators, police, firefighters, nurses, interns. Lots of people aren't epidemiologists or doctors, or an emergency room doctor may not be a surgeon, blah, blah, blah. So I just am doing the best I can, knowing that I have a mental illness that could lead me to get excited about this whole coronavirus thing going on around the world and get up in my head about it. If I wind up having severe symptoms, if, I'm really going through it, I still have to make the choice. Do I ask somebody I live with to take me to the hospital? Do I pick up the phone? You can always pick up the phone and call, because whenever you pick up the phone and call and ask, you can always get into an argument with somebody on the phone who can just deal with it over the phone. And then you can go from there, make the decision to hop in a car and go somewhere. There are so many situations that can be handled by picking up your phone and calling, or getting on the internet, or calling somebody, texting somebody, asking. A lot of tough judgment calls are going to have to be made by a lot of people. But I don't want my mental illness to get the best of me and convince me that something is terribly wrong. Worldwide, this is real. This is a global pandemic. A certain amount of people are getting sick, and a certain amount of people have died, and more people will die. It's not the zombie apocalypse. It's not something to make a movie in your head about and lose touch with reality over. Maybe a conspiracy theory thing is the kind of thing you're into. Maybe that's a fun thing to talk about or think about. But if you find yourself getting paranoid, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychologist. I'm just a friendly guy who does a comic strip and some animated little movies with animation that's frankly not all that great yet. I'm just telling you straight up, as somebody who has dealt with schizophrenia, schizoaffective, bipolar, whatever you want to call it. I can't let my imagination run away with me and cause me to do paranoid things and panic. If you need to get in therapy, get in therapy. If you need to call a hotline, call a hotline. If you have a support group that you need to turn to that support group. Don't let this news story lead you to make irrational decisions out of panic and fear. because we see people who don't have mental illness panicking and buying tons of toilet paper, which is only going to serve to make the price of toilet paper skyrocket. And it's total jackassery, and it doesn't make sense. And toilet paper is not part of the defense against COVID-19 or SARS, whatever it is, number 2, the name of the virus. Having a ton of toilet paper that it's going to take you several months to use, or maybe a year to use, doesn't solve anything. It's just ignorant. I'm sorry. It just is. Hoarding isn't the solution to the problem. We live in one of the very best developed nations in the world. And we have a real emergency on our hands, a real situation on our hands. And there's a lot of people doing double time, working overtime to help us solve it. So my responsibility as someone who could be a panicky idiot and let my mind run away from me even without being mentally ill, my responsibility is to get out of the way or help, but not be part of the problem. And I know I'm running long here. If you're still with me, God bless you. But this is a thing. This is a big deal. This is real. We're losing people. We're going to lose some people. But keep a cool head. Keep a cool head. If you're old enough to remember 9/11 and the aftermath of that, then you probably remember people making some irrational decisions, saying some irrational things, being very afraid. You know, it's like Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, like, over 90 years ago, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. That's not really true in this case. We do have to fear a very real disease, along with other diseases like tuberculosis, influenza, things that could kill a person. A certain percentage of the world's population dies every year from respiratory diseases that are infectious diseases. This is one of those. It's being dealt with. It's a pandemic. It's global. It's a situation when most of the time we've been able to ignore people dying from influenza, ignore stuff like that, and not think about it all the time. I don't want to run to the 15-minute mark, so I'm going to cut this short. I'm just another voice out here trying to be a voice of reason. But I am somebody who's dealt with mental illness, and I know how scary it can be to be paranoid and think that it's the zombie apocalypse. It's not the zombie apocalypse, but do wash your hands, do take precautions, don't shake hands, don't touch your face, do the things that you're hearing over and over again that you should do. Avoid the things you're hearing to avoid doing. Try to stay in touch with reality, try to stay grounded. And once again, I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a therapist or a doctor or, I'm just some schmo who has some experience with my own personal paranoia in life. So that's going to do it for now. Look forward to seeing more Conscience and Shmonshuntz. Can't wait to work on it. Can't wait to feel better and be able to bring it to you. I will update you, and I'll probably try to do more than one video a week. But that's it for now. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.